Good day. In this segment, we'll show you how to finish the last part of the Module 1 solution, specifically how to clear the default account, complete updates, enable delivery optimization, and so on. We'll be showing you the graphical user interface method, and if you're interested, you can also perform the PowerShell version of this in section 5 and for the additional credit from a command prompt. If you'd like to submit the CLI method for extra points, just send an email to the instructor. So here in our virtual machine, we're going to create a proper account to use for routine maintenance and administrative tasks using settings. Our virtual machine environment was configured in the first 4 sections of this solution. We'll go ahead and log in, and if we look at the screen, it's what we call an attractive nuisance. The fact that the first account is hardwired to be the administrator account by the same name makes it a target for hackers. So what we're going to do is create another account and then disable the administrative account. So inside my virtual machine, I'll go ahead and I'll use the Tools menu and open up Computer Management. This will open up what's known as a Microsoft Management Console, and it's called the Computer Management Console. In professional and corporate and education editions of Windows 10, 11, and in server, you'll see this computer management. This is the old school way of doing things. You can also go to the settings menu and work from there. The only difference is the settings menu will, if you go into accounts and you use other users and other options, there's a lot of extra information the wizard prompts you to provide, and you have to cancel that out. This is more of a direct flight, so it's an easier way. You select local users and groups, and in the users option you see the administrator account displayed, and the fact that it has a description as the built-in account for administering the computer / domain again makes it an attractive nuisance. So what we're going to do is right click and make a new user, and we'll call this one maintenance. So we're just going to use all lowercase maintenance. You could use, if you use the name support, that might also be an attractive nuisance. It's a little less obvious when you use a name like maintenance. Better yet, you should use a totally unrelated username. Take your pick at that. Could be the name of a favorite dog, but nothing too provocative. We're going to leave the full name field in the description blank. We'll enter a complex password, one that isn't easily guessed, and we'll go ahead and enter it again to make sure. We'll uncheck the box that says user must change because we're going to log in just a moment, and this is what we're setting up. We also want this to be a persistent account that's always there for maintenance. We'll select the password never expires, and we'll go ahead and create, and we'll close. You see the maintenance account here. I'm going to double click and remove this from the full name. The less information out there, the better. So now the maintenance account is ready for assignment to a group. I'll go ahead and make it a member of the administrators group. Now this is not the same as the administrator account. The administrators group, whoop, I misspelled it. So if you get this screen, it means you misspelled it. There you see it's administrators. I'm going to remove the users, hit apply, and OK. And at this point, I'm done. I'll test the account, and then I'll disable the administrator group. I may even change the name. One interesting practice is to swap the names for guest and administrator and the description, and leave it disabled so that if somebody attempts to use an administrator account that's actually the guest account, you'll get lots of log entries, but if they break in, well, they only have the privileges of a guest, and they think they're using the built-in account. So you would basically open up Notepad and use a temporary name, because as soon as you try to assign this guest, well, it'll say guest already exists. So you use a temporary name, then you change guest to administrator, then you paste this description in here, and that's a cool way of making things a lot more difficult for hackers. I'm going to go ahead and close this and close my screen, and then I'll log out and test my account. So I will sign out as an administrator, and then I will use the keyboard input, and instead of using administrator, I'll use maintenance. Type in my password. When you've completed this process, you'll be able to show on that login screen that administrator is no longer shown. Now we use maintenance to download updates and to change the system settings. But if we're getting on the system to use applications, we want to use and configure a standard user account, especially if we're going to spend time browsing the web, using email, anything like that. You want to use a standard email account. You can use the same method, just don't change the group membership. In our local server, you can see that we're going to the computer management option to pull up the MMC again. At this point, when we open up local users and groups with administrator, we'll go ahead and disable the account in properties. The account is disabled. We're also going to remove this description, and I'll go ahead and open up Notepad. Just so I have a place to paste this for a time being. I'll hit apply, and then OK. Now I'm going to take the administrator account and rename it something temporary. I'll name it Bob. I'll take the guest account and name it administrator. I'll open this up and capture this description. I'll enter that description on a new line, and I'll go ahead and capture this, paste it into the description here. Nope, I'll use the guest. Let me do that again. I'll paste this one in here. built-in account for guest access. I'll apply. Bob was my original name, and this is now my guest account. So I need to make this guest. Now I can take Bob, which is a member of administrators, but it's disabled, and I'm going to make this appear to be so let's go back over this again. I've pasted the two descriptions for both accounts. If I ever lose my way with this, all I have to do is double click and look at who's a member of which group. This was the original guests account, and I used a temporary name so I could basically rename this. I'm going to use the word administrator, so I'll change guest to administrator and then use the administrator description, so that somebody's that's going after an administrator, all they're doing is hitting the original guest's account. So I will go ahead and change this description. I'll go into properties, and instead of using this description for the built-in guest account, I will substitute the administrative description. I'll hit apply and OK. Once again, this is the guest account, and I'm going to change the name to administrator. So a hacker that comes along is going to think that's the administrative account. It's not. I'll go ahead and check to make sure that's a member of the guest account. That's the original guest. I'll take the Bob account, which was the administrator account, and I can leave that name Bob, or I can put guest on there, and that's what I think I'll do. I'll go ahead and change the name to guest, because people who are hacking my system are going to be attracted to the guest description. To finish the deception, to throw hackers off, I'm going to paste the guest description into the field. So now let's review. What I have, I don't need to save that, is an original administrator account where I've swapped out the name and the description with guest. The guest account, the name and the description has been changed so that it appears to be that, but I have this maintenance account. It doesn't have any description, and when I finish applying this, I can basically look at the login and you'll see only a maintenance login. So that's the screenshot you'll want to capture, in addition to the one I just showed you. So in here, you'll want to show, you'll capture the screen from computer management that displays the change in accounts, a disabled administrator account at a minimum. If you just take the administrator account and disable it, that's fine. But if you want to work the additional changes for extra credit, what you can do is go into the groups. You can capture this screenshot showing the other account you've just created. Then you can go into groups and open up administrators, and you'll see the name guest. And if you go into users, or actually into guests, you'll see the name administrator. If you capture this screen, I'll know you were successful swapping those names out. So that's one set of screenshots you want to capture. Then you want to come in here and close your server manager, sign out, and capture the screen after you've logged out. When you sign out and then issue a Control-Alt-Delete, you'll see maintenance and you don't see any administrator or guest shown. That's what we want. So that's the other screenshot you'll capture. Let's go ahead and enter our password, and we'll finish up with the quick changes we need to disable NetBIOS over TCP/IP in the GUI environment. It's a very quick and easy thing to do here. I'm going to select local server from the server manager, and then I will click on assigned by DHCP, double click on the network card, go into properties, select the IPv4 and go to properties here. I'll go into the advanced option. I'll select WinS and the bottom disable. If you capture this screenshot, you've completed the additional credit. That's the same thing that these two commands do from an administrative command prompt. Either way, you'll capture additional credit. So I'll say OK after I've... Now, how do you capture a screenshot when this is full screen? You go to partial screen, you minimize your desktop in the lower right corner by clicking this, I call it the skinny button, that after you've minimized the screen, you display your window again and click to the side and then hit the print screen button and paste that into your document. That's what you do. I'll go ahead and click OK and close, and then I'll gracefully shut down my server because I don't want it to crash. I don't want to scramble the eggs. If I click on this start button and then sign out, actually with a server you don't have a shutdown button like you do with Windows 10 or 11, so you actually have to use the shutdown option from the start menu when you're logged in. That's to prevent anybody from just accidentally shutting down a system that's used to support many users. That's what servers do. So I'm going to go ahead and use this option to power off and shut down. It's a planned shutdown. I'll say shut down anyway, and there we have it. This concludes. Now, I don't want to close the screen too fast. If you see this option where it says power off the machine, that's the same as jerking the cord off the wall. So you're going to play cancel, you're going to say cancel, and then let this thing gracefully exit and power off. At that point, you're done. This concludes the last part of your solution for Module 1. Thank you for joining us.